All right, everybody. Thank you all for joining us. We're going to let people keep hopping on here as needed. Heck, right now we got not a ton of people on here. There we go. We got two people have joined us. Make sure you introduce yourself if you're on here. But I'm going to go ahead and do a quick intro and let people just join us as needed. But first, I'm Jose Gardner, one of the senior reviewers for Long Range Tactics, and then we got Solinski with me.
How's it going, everybody? For the few of us that we got on.
Well, this is going to live in perpetuity too, right? So our intention is that this is going to stay on YouTube, and for those competitors looking at Mammoth over the next couple of years, we hope this is helpful. But I guess we'll do an introduction first of all, in case you're on here watching just for mine and Solinsky's pretty face, and because you don't know what Mammoth is. Mammoth Sniper Challenge has been going on for I don't know, they said 10 plus years, a lot of years. Now it started off in Kentucky and moved around and eventually ended up at Fort Gordon, Georgia. And the long and short of it, it's a two-gun kind of a blind stage problem solving type match that involves rucking, right? So whatever you step off with Friday morning, you got to ruck for 2.5 days till it ends at mid afternoon on Sunday. And every movement, whether it's zero point 0.4 miles or 7.5 miles, has to be done at a 16-minute pace or faster, or else you essentially fall out of the match. You can keep shooting, but it really kind of puts you at the bottom standings wise. And so this is mine and Solinski's second year to do it. Something we kind of decided to bite off a couple of years ago and test ourselves, and we really enjoyed it. Um, uh, Last year said, "Hey, let's do it again. Let's see if we can get better." And so, we had some learnings. We didn't do a whole lot of gear changing from last year to this year, but we did some. And so we're basically going to break it down for people. And now that we've got some people joining us, just make sure you throw up questions as we go along. This isn't going to be an after action of the match. We may do one of those later, but this is really a lot of people don't even know where to start gear wise and packing and kind of thought process. And so before I go any deeper, Solinsky, you got any thoughts for us?
No, not really. I mean, like Jose said, it's our second year doing it, so we're definitely not like pros like some of the guys that have done it every year since inception. But we like to think that we've kind of analyzed it a bit more than some, maybe not as much as others, and we definitely enjoy doing it. Yeah, that's about it.
Cool. All right. So let's level set this. There's you when you got to pick your loadout, you got to pick an attitude, right? So what are you trying to achieve? Maybe what are you trying to spend? How are you choosing to approach it as a team? Are you going to just run two identical sets of gear? Like you'll see some guys there that literally look like they walked into Bass Pro and said, "Give me two of everything."
And
And
some
hey,
of
I mean
them did.
that's yeah, that's one way to do it. But if you're like me and Solinsky, we have two very different backgrounds. So I'm a little bit more outdoorsman background, raised hunting, lived out west, kind of with that out west mountain hunter attitude for a while. And then Solinsky comes from the sniper community in the Marine Corps, and so he obviously very well versed in the kind of gear he likes. And so we didn't try to change each other. We kind of really said, "Hey, you run what you're comfortable with. I'm gonna run what I'm comfortable with. Let's decide." What you'll hear us talk about what was team gear, and I'll break that down a little bit more. And what we really felt was we could trust each other to be grown men, make good decisions that are going to benefit the team, and pick gear that was going to score points. So when we make those decisions, Solinsky, how do we make these decisions? What's the point of the match?
Oh, it's definitely a shooting match above all else. You get a lot of people that kind of focus too much on the rucking, or they just don't train enough for the rucking. And so they really try and cut as much weight as possible to the point it depreciates their ability to shoot effectively. Probably one of the biggest examples of this is the types of pistols that people choose. There's obviously a whole bunch of stuff that we're going to talk about throughout the episode on different gear, but pistols is really the biggest one where we see people forget that pistols or pistol shooting is 50% of the match. Right? It's about 30% of the total possible points, but
Right.
that's assuming you get 100% of the rifle points. In reality, uh, the pistol shots are easier. You'll get to them a lot. You'll be able to finish the pistol portions, where a lot of the rifle portions are designed for not everybody to be able to finish it, to no one being able to finish it. And so people forget that it's half of their score, and so they're cutting weight with rifle, and they're doing a sub 15 pound or sub 10 pound rifle. They're spending all this money on extra gear, and then they're running a compact Glock with iron sights.
Yeah.
And you see that in the scores. And so we definitely took the complete opposite approach. We looked at this as it's a shooting match, and we're going to make up weight in other areas. Or if you're just a stubborn dum dum like me, I'm just going to carry more weight.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Um, yeah, there will be one point too. We get to food, but you'll see another. We ran into some guys that uh, cut their food too short and were literally like suffering on calories, starting to get headaches, not thinking straight, and so um, you know,
I
carry
gave
six
up
more
food to
out.
another competitor on that.
Yeah, carry six more ounces of food and work a little bit better and have a little bit more strength at the end of the day. You don't score any points for your ruck time, and there's some guys
Mm-hmm.
that think you do, and you don't. So, all right, let's hop right in though. For those of you watching again, if you've got any questions, we want interaction. Obviously, we've been through this a million times. We kind of have some pre-match meetings every time and talk about what we're going to do. But I guess I'll start off. We're going to start off with what everybody wants to see. What did you do for guns? So I guess I'm going to zoom it in on first on mine. Solinski, be sure to ask any questions if you have any.
Yep.
But what you see here, so I was the primary shooter. The way that Mammoth works is there's a primary shooter that can run any rifle, cartridge, sub. Can't be a Magnum bolt face. Can't be over 32,000 feet, 3,200 feet per second. So I was the primary. I ran a 6 GT. This is actually a 6.5 Creed barrel because I got home immediately from Mammoth and turned it back into my hunting gun. But that's what my pretty similar setup to my hunting gun, but this is my GT barrel, barreled by Boring Rifles out of Utah. They make some great stuff. This is their anti-gravity action, and then the MDT Hunt 26 stock, so a lightweight stock with an integral Arca rail. I did not go with the folder. I don't like the added weight of a folder personally. And then the double pull Sky Pod from MDT as well. And then this is actually also my hunting scope, which is an XTR3. I also, but for the match, I actually used the XTR Pro, so it's a 5.5 to 30 instead of a 3 to 18. Good glass, highly recommend for this match. You do not want to skimp on glass. Again, it is a shooting match, not a rucking match. And then I've got Hawkins rings. That is one place you can save ounces. The Hawkins ultralight rings are absolutely stellar. And then you'll see Solinski describe something similar. But for my pistol, I went with my Rock Island TAC Ultra FSHC or whatever the letter combination is. Basically, the 2011 Rock Island wannabe. It's been worked over by Hayes Customs and actually turned into a pretty awesome gun. And then Burris Fast Fire 4 Red Dot. Again, once Alinsky goes through his, we will talk about why we chose that. But Solinski, why don't you tell us about your setup?
Yeah, so I just went with my normal PRS setup. Essentially, the only thing I changed for Mammoth was I added a silencer co radius. So right here, I've got the US Optics Foundation Series scope. It's the 15 by is the one I'm running right now. I've got a 25 by on order that's going to get put on this rifle, and that 17 is going to go back on my rimfire setup. But I'm running the brand new Spur chassis. I just picked this up off a prize table in October. Decided why not run it for the first time at Mammoth. So I put my action in it and just kind of rocked it. And to evaluate the chassis, I'll probably be doing a review on it here in the next couple of months once I get some more reps on it, different matches. But I was really happy with that. I did go with the folder. So I'm not impartial to folders. I do kind of like them. I was able to run this setup vertical in my ruck if I had time to unpack and repack my ruck. So I was running, we'll get into the rucks later. But essentially, for me to go vertical with it packed properly, I had to unpack everything. The folder was ideal for that. Running a 24-inch benchmark barrel. I've got a Harrell's tuner. And then the action is a Pro Rifles. It's a local gun shop or a local gunsmith here outside of Fredericksburg that used to be the head coach of the Marine Corps rifle team prior to me being the head coach. So I had him spin up the barrel on this action for me. And then I was running sky pods, and then you can see the radius there. Let me get down low enough. There we go. You can see the radius off to the side because I do not have the money for the other options for rifle mounted laser rangefinders. Um, and honestly, that radius did have maybe not as much benefit as we were hoping, but it definitely had a purpose in a couple of stages that it was clutch. for us to be able to essentially have both of us engaging targets, or I was able to verify the target I was looking at to confirm it was the right one by verifying the range. So that definitely helped a lot. And then I was also running a Rock Island Arsenal uh, 2011 frame. All right, but mine had been worked over by Voodoo Gunworks, so they just started their 1911 line, and then this was kind of the proof of concept for them doing a 2011 model. So I nicknamed this pistol Two Face. If you saw my video that I did on it, essentially because it's the Rock Island lower with the Voodoo pistol or the Voodoo Gunworks upper, and then they redid the internals, kind of tuned everything up, and then I went with the Hollow Sun on top. Again, not a light pistol. We went into that for a reason. Kind of like Jose talked about, one of the biggest advantage, and we did this last year too. I just didn't have the Voodoo Gunworks slide on it last year. Was because one, our mags were interchangeable, so we only carried one extra mag. We all had, or we each had two of our own mags, and we brought one spare mag for both of us because it worked in both pistols. So we didn't need to have extra gear because I was running Rock Island and he was running a Glock or running a Stig or whatever it was. So that was a huge benefit to us. It also was a benefit when, for both last year and this year, did we have to switch pistols this year?
Yep,
No, but we did.
I think so.
What stage? What stage was it?
Oh wait,
No,
no,
we
we just
just
did it
switched twice.
twice last year. We did it twice
Yeah.
last year.
So
Yeah,
so
yeah.
last year there was actually a point where we had to write on a card prior to the stage starting when we knew the description who had what pistol, right? And then they told us we had to shoot the other person's pistol. Well, for last year, it didn't matter because the only difference between our pistols was a tiny difference in trigger work. That was about it. And Jose was running a red dot last year. I ran iron. This year, we both ran red dots. Our pistols essentially run almost identically. So switching wasn't a big issue for us. We were both comfortable with each other's pistols, and they functioned the same. Right, it's essentially the
Mm-hmm.
same pistol, which was a huge benefit for us, particularly with the extra weight because these are competition pistols, and we most of our points, or I shouldn't say most, about half of our points were pistol points, which was by design. We went into this
Right.
match same way we went into last year, where our goal was to drop no pistol points. Obviously, it's a little bit unrealistic. But we were pretty close to that. I would say we were probably one of the top teams when it came to pistol shooting, which greatly helped our standings, mainly because that was a large percentage of the point.
Right. So, Makev, I see your question. We're going to get to it in a second when we follow this up. All right. So, Solinski mentioned the interchangeable magazine. So, yeah, I ran the MBX. I think he had some STI mags. But we ran 5 mags, and really most time we just had like a mag loaded in a pack, and then we had 2 each on us. Last year we did the same thing and actually did have to throw some mags at each other where we had um, some things happening. But part of that too, this is definitely a trick that is not unknown, but definitely I picked this up from the master himself, Sean Murphy, which shameless plug for him. Go to thepracticalsharpshooter.com, dude. He's got after actions of Mammoth, gun runs, teams matches, whatever. But he has more stuff out there on Mammoth than anybody else, and I've soaked it all up. But part of that is the aluminum case Blaser ammo. And Solinski and I both ran 9 mil. Some teams were literally, yep, there it is. Solinski's got it right there. Aluminum case Blaser. Some teams don't even run the same caliber, but then some teams do run the same caliber, don't run the same ammo. We made sure that our guns both like these. And over brass, it's about a 15% weight reduction. So on 100 rounds each, it came out to, was it 7 or 8 ounces? Isn't that right? What it saved on
Mm-hmm.
100 rounds each. And we carried this year. Last year we carried more. This year we carried, I think, 105 rounds each.
Yeah.
And frankly, came home with a lot of rounds. Or some of mine went in the trash to save weight on the final ruck. But whatever. So aluminum, and then I
Can't hide
ran.
mine.
You shut your mouth. 6 GT Alpha Brass 110 A tips. Selinsky, what did you run? Just real quick before we move on to the next thing.
So I was running 223, obviously. So I was secondary. So I had to run a tactical caliber, either 223 or 308. I'm
Mm-hmm.
running a hot rod load of 223 that we ran in service rifle. Essentially, I'm pushing 80 grain Sierras, Sierra Match Kings at about this year's load. I think was at 2980 ish.
Yeah, so pretty hot.
Um, yeah, fairly hot for a 223 load. The best part about that was it meant I actually shot flatter than Jose out to what, 500, 400,
Pretty
400,
close,
I
yeah,
think.
600, something like that.
And then we were in line with each other for like 1 or 200 yards. And then
Yeah,
from, I think it was 600 to 1,000, all I had to do was add a tenth to whatever
yeah.
his dope was, and that was my dope. So it put us very close to in line with each other, um, which was a huge benefit. Some of the new projectiles coming out for 223 make it a very, very competitive tactical round.
Right. So the last point on the gun stuff, one we did. I think you carried the tacos as well. So how we carried our
Yeah.
magazines on a stage, we would put them on our belts, just tactical tacos like this. And as you can see, mine has the pistol taco on the rifle taco, so it kept things nice and kind of compact on my belt. But I always had my backups on me instead of digging in pockets or what have you. High capacity magazines. I think a lot of the stages were 15 round pistol. Last year there was actually a stage that required about 25 rounds of pistol. And then what I ran for magazines, I think Solinski ran two 13 round mags. This is
Yeah.
my 10 round MDT because I can't find my 12, but basically I ran a 12 metal and then a 10 round polymer metal top combo. This thing, and that's from MDT as well, it feeds flawless. It's a lot lighter than even the 10 round um, metal mag in the 308 if you're running, Creed or whatever, a GT Dasher. But the 12 rounder did save us on several stages where I didn't have to do a mag change on the stage as the primary shooter. And when it's a 5 minute stage, you're finding, ranging, engaging, building, like seconds literally matter. I mean, one more point.
Yeah.
If you average one more point every other stage because you had time to shoot, that's several spots at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah.
So definitely the highest, at least one 12 rounder or one 15 rounder would be a huge difference on the rifle side. So Solinski, I want you to talk about this first, and then I'll tell you why you're wrong. No, I'm just kidding. We got a question from Mac Ev on YouTube saying, planning to shoot Mammoth for the first time next year. Opinions on gas gun as a secondary versus a 223 bolt.
So, okay. So if you're going to go gas gun, personally, I would recommend going 308. The problem with a 223 bolt or a 223 gas gun is going to be uh, setting your load to mag length, right? So the load that I run that's very efficient 223 bolt gun load is not mag length for a gas gun. And so you're going to lose a lot of speed going to a 223 gas gun, and you're going to lose kind of that advantage that we had with both of our guns running relatively similar. There was a lot of stages this year where a gas gun was a huge benefit. Um, Main one being the marathon stage, the inside outside stage, and the columns. But most of those, we were still able to be very competitive running two bolt guns. I have nothing against gas guns. It's completely within the realm of possibility. If you've got a good load, run. But I would recommend running a 308 if you're going to run a gas gun for sure.
Yep. So my thoughts on this, you see, we both run bolt guns. I'm more comfortable with a bolt gun. I feel like I can run a bolt gun pretty fast. I think honestly, it's a little bit of a danged if you do, danged if you don't.
Yeah,
If you're an awesome shooter, shoot. A lot of the AMU guys ran gas guns and freaking smoked them. The JP team ran some gas guns and did right quite well. But if you can imagine why they would do quite well. Um, this year, I think the difficulty of the shots themselves maybe were a little easier than last year. I'm not saying the stages. I'm talking strictly the marksmanship.
mm-hmm.
The difficulty of the shots may have been a little bit easier, and it was a lot more. One shooter called it choreography, which is a great. You had to go in with a good
Yeah,
stage plan and get through
yeah,
your shots. And this year, a gas gun, a good shooting gas gun, probably would have been advantageous. I wouldn't have even called it sixes.
yeah,
Like even for a primary, you had a one MOA six Creed gas gun. Um, you probably would have actually been a leg up. Last year, I think maybe some of the shots were harder, and I would have much preferred a bolt gun last year. Obviously, we didn't do terrible with bolt guns this year. But to answer your question, I would tell you it definitely depends on your comfort level with the gas gun. My comfort level with the gas gun isn't that high.
yeah.
Bolt gun makes me feel like a safety blanket, and so It really depends on what Chris is cooking up from year to year. To me, is really the answer to that question. So great question. Really appreciate the
And
conversation
I
you
got something
kicked
else
off.
for that.
Yeah,
I
hit
got
me
something
with it.
else for that too, Jose. So kind
Yeah,
of to go off Jose's comment of it depends how comfortable you are. If you can control yourself with a gas gun, it has a huge benefit, right? And what I mean by that is you need to go to some precision matches with a gas gun and
yeah, and
see if
treat
you
them
get
like a bolt
sucked
gun.
in. Yeah, you have to treat it like a bolt gun, right?
Yeah,
Uh, that's one of the funny things. Quantified Precision started running their matches the last couple of years. And so
which
the first one
ones?
I went to was at Quantico. A bunch of three gunners showed up making fun of all the PRS shooters who showed up with $1,000 tripods and bags and all this stuff, right? And within the first two stages, all of a sudden we had people coming over asking to borrow tripods, asking to borrow spotting scopes, asking to borrow binos, borrow barricade back because it was a different game, right? The problem most of them ran into was they get sucked into targets and they shoot too fast because they don't have to do anything, right? The gun resets everything itself. That's why it's semi-auto. Whereas a bolt gun, it doesn't, so you're forced to slow down, right? The system forces you to slow down, which makes you inherently more accurate. If you can override that instinct of going too fast, a gas gun has a lot of benefit.
Right.
If you can't, you're going to end up getting sucked into targets and missing very, very quickly and not actually picking up points. Because there was a lot of stages where some teams would finish the stage, get all their shots off, and they would score 20. And realistically, if you had just gone 1 for 1 and never missed, you would have hit 20 within 4 out of 20 shots,
Yeah.
right? Just from how the scoring went. And so it definitely is one of those things where you can't miss fast enough. And Chris is usually really good about building those stages where it's really easy to get sucked in because almost all the stages, the targets are 3 hits to move on or 3 engagements to move on, right? If you're running a gas gun, you can send those 3 rounds super quick. And if you wing 2 of them, cool, you finished the stage, but you missed 66% of your shots.
Right.
So it didn't matter that you finished versus a bolt gun who hit everything but timed out on the third target, right?
So, again, great question, great discussion. We're going to move through a little bit more of our shooting gear. Solinski just brought up a great point, the tripod. So, as you can see here, I have a rather sizable tripod. If you kind of keep it compared to the rifle that was sitting up here, this is the Two Vets QDT version 2. Now, I absolutely love this tripod. And Solinski, yes or no answer, run a tripod at Mammoth.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. So, can it be done without a tripod? Yes. This year, I feel like most of the spotting was actually really doable without a tripod. And even though we
Yeah.
carried an outdoorsman post, and I have the QDT or the quick detach post on my binos, but I actually did. There was 2 stages. Frankly, 2 of the stages we did better on this year, just given our backgrounds were a little bit PRSy. And I used rear tripod rear and freaking smoked them, if I'm being quite frank.
Yeah.
And frankly, I didn't smoke all the stages. I'm not trying to be arrogant. Just it helped me. It's something I'm comfortable with. But it's only about what I did do is I took my big ball head off and put my small ball head for my other smaller tripod, and it saved us some weight. So probably 5.5 pounds into a tripod here. But frankly, I think it was necessary this year. Last year, we actually shot off the tripod for probably
Mm-hmm.
3 stages, maybe more,
Yeah.
or how we approached it with our stage plan. So let's remember
Yeah.
again, this is a shooting match, not a rucking match.
And to
And
kind of preface my answer, right? So I instantly said yes, run a tripod. I am the biggest anti tripod shooter that there is.
yeah,
I refuse to use one for rear support. I don't run a tripod unless it's a tripod stage. If you're
right.
shooting Mammoth, have a tripod.
Yeah. And frankly, the other thing, which we'll get into, we ran a TP style tent. This tripod goes to quite tall, and this actually became our center post for our tent,
Is that
which
an official
saved us.
measurement?
Yeah. Wait, what?
You
Is
said
what
it
an
goes to
official measurement?
quite tall. Is that an
Oh
official
yeah, yeah,
measurement?
quite tall.
Quite
It was
tall?
because, yeah, well, honestly, I don't know the number off the top of my head. Taller than you need, and so we use it as a center column for our TP
Mm-hmm.
tent. So it definitely served multiple purposes. But obviously, in the term find range engage, there's that whole find and range part. And so, what do they say? Two is one and one is none. So, for range
Yep.
finding, we actually technically had three range finders with us, but our
Yep.
main ones were the Vortex. Let me make sure I call it the right thing because I always get them confused. The Fury 5000 HD AB, so the applied ballistic version. Frankly, the rangefinder in here, I think, is vastly improved over the original 5000s. And oh, by the way, they do give you dope. We saved dope in here, but just due to our shooting style, we didn't really use it. We had it in there kind of in case, I guess, a stage style called for it, but we really
Yeah.
ran our dope on our arms. And then what we felt like, just if you understand how Mammoth works, having two heavy binos on you. Some teams do it, and that's fine. We just didn't feel like it was necessary for our style, but we
Yeah.
did run a backup, which is my trusty, incredibly reliable SIG 2000s, like the original ones way back in the day that kind of started everything off. And so they're still ticking, and I love them. We ran them as backups, and then we had Solinski's Radius as well. And we'll probably
Yep.
actually be running two of those next year. One thing that I did run, some guys do different things. I have probably about five different bino harnesses. I may have even gifted one to Solinski. But this is my lightest and smallest, lamest set. They actually came with some SIG 10Ks, but they're perfect for what you need, right? They saved a bunch of weight. You'll see some guys run literal paracord or just one of those like birder necklace things. I like to have them a little bit more controlled than that. So to me, it was worth it to run this kind of 8 ounces or so, 6 ounces, I think is what it was, maybe.
Mhm.
But just a thought for some of you that may want to run that. And then let's see, we covered the rangefinders, I guess, and then dope. Oh well, rear bag. Solinsky, what's your rear bag again? Fortune cookie or
So
something like
mine is
that?
a Thunderbird Precision. So this was one of the earlier guys that started doing a grippy bottom on a barricade bag. So he started making his own. And Jose hooked me up last year with some light fill for this one. So this is one of my go-to barricade bags, especially for Mammoth. I have an Arca mounted Weebad that I also use for regular matches, but it's super heavy compared to this. But yeah, I use this for a barricade bag and a rear bag.
Yep. And then I use the this is called the new Skinny Boy, basically from it's our second year to use it, but from Bison Tactical out in Colorado, and it's with Get Light as well. It's wax canvas and it has a grippy bottom as well. And
Mhm.
I think even Solinsky wanted to take it home last year, but I didn't let him. But it's starting to
No.
take a beating, but it's really nice. So definitely a good positional bag. Again, this whole year to year change thing. 2 years ago, we used this a lot. We ended up using it off of bunkers,
Yeah.
maybe off of a tank trap. We definitely used it off a tank trap at Vortex. This year, there was
Also
two stages that
tripod.
really called for. Oh yeah, off a tripod. We would run this on a tripod to make moving easier,
Yeah.
switching between rifles. This year, two stages really called for a positional bag. One stage could have used a positional bag. I did. Solinsky didn't. Um,
Okay.
but it also just makes a great rear bag. So rather than carrying multiple bags or heavy bags, this is about
Hmm.
1.6 pounds as it sits, and it's got the straps to strap it onto your rifle. And frankly, it makes a decent pillow in your tent at night. So
Hmm.
um, that was it for rear bags. And then
And
finally,
we got a question real quick, Jose. So Makev, MacB,
oh yeah, yeah,
his
yes,
ask is 223 actually improved within the rules for the primary shooter. It would be, but I believe for the secondary shooter, it has to be 223 556. That
yep.
standard issued cartridge or 308. Those are pretty much your only two
That's
options.
right. It's got to be the
But if
NATO
you,
chambering. Yep.
yep. But if you
So
wanted to run it for second or for primary, sure.
I will say this: when I was originally kicking these ideas around, I wanted to run a 223 actually as a primary. I was going to run 88s at 3,000, which if you run the numbers, I mean, there's so many guys shooting 22 BRs, 22 dashers, and that's about what they're
Yep.
getting. They're running those 88s in that 29 to 3,000 range. One thing you got to remember is it's really hard to pick up brass at this match. So, you'd spend all that time fire forming 22, 23 Ackley brass and then drop it. That's kind of was one of my hangups, but then I turned around and did that with alpha brass. So, maybe I'm an idiot either way, but if you really run the numbers, the other thing too is 223 Ackley, running 88s out of one of those when you just think about the weight. If you are an ounce counter, I'm not telling you to be, but if you are an ounce counter, that's kind of why I went with a GT over a six Creedmoor, which next year I'm probably switching to a six Creedmoor and I'm going to carry the extra weight. But if you wanted to save weight, the ballistic sacrifice of a 223 Ackley or something like a 22 BR versus the amount of weight you're saving is actually a pretty good trade-off if that's a trade-off you're willing to make. So, great question. Oh, dope. All right, so we're done with the rangefinders. So Solinski and I did something a little different this year than we did in years past. So for one,
Mhm.
I don't know if you can see this, but basically we run an arm board and we've got yardage from 200 to 1100 meters. We went ahead and ran meters for a couple reasons. One, in case we had to mill targets, it's a little bit faster math if you just do everything in meters than centimeters. The other thing is, if you only got so many squares that you can fit on your page and you run in meters instead of yards, you're actually accounting for 10% or 9.6% more more
Mhm.
distance. And then what did we run? Oh yeah, we ran elevation, and then we did a 5 mile an hour yardage.
Yeah.
And then what we did is we actually had
Windage.
what did we run this
Windage.
year? Sorry, windage. We ran minus 500 DA, 500 DA, and 1500 DA according to the
Yes.
weather we predicted. And we would basically just switch those cards out. But something we tried this year, and I think it really worked. Definitely, this is something if you're writing down. If I had to pick three things, I think we're going to tell you in this presentation today that you put in a bank for next year. These were um, index cards that I just cut down to fit inside of here, and we carried about 20 index cards each. Why did we do that? Last year, we took our Right in the Rain notebook. I have one here somewhere. Either way, whatever. We took there it is. So we took our Right in the Rain notebooks, and when they would give us our stage brief, we would take our notes, and then we'd make notes, we'd make a plan, and then this would go in the backpack. And all your gear goes to every stage with you, so your backpack's with you. And last year we had about our second stage of the day. We argued for probably a solid 30 seconds. We didn't argue. We were just like discussing
Very
passionately,
confused on what was
very
next.
confusedly, which target he was supposed to be shooting. And we said the right thing
Oh,
and then shot the
but
wrong thing.
not even just which target, which array. It
Yeah, yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
one. It was
yeah, yeah, yeah.
five targets in a row that
Yeah, yeah.
I smoked to a grand total of 0 points.
It was like three. But anyways, so what did we do
I
this year?
smoked.
We would literally use a note card during every brief, and we would make our notes on the note card. And then if you use one of these, so one, this is, I forget what even brand this is, like Tab Gear, I think. And this is a pretty standard one. You'll see these at a lot of matches, the arm board. Sunrise
Mhm.
Tactical has made one that is an absolute upgrade. Bungee arm grabbing, bigger windows. The way it feeds is better. The Velcro's all the way around. Sunrise Tactical. I don't know these dudes from Adam. I have no reason to plug them other than this crap is awesome. So that said, we would take our uh, index card and we would write our notes. And then on every stage, and what did we use it? We used this at least 3 times this year in the stage,
Oh yeah,
Solinsky, where we would
yeah.
literally put our notes in the back panel and we're sitting there shooting. And to confirm we were doing the right thing, flip it up, and there's your stage brief with all your notes.
Mhm.
Sometimes we would even take notes and rewrite a stage plan just to make for sure, because man, Chris loves to play
Yeah,
mind games. Having our
yeah.
info immediately, not just our dope, but our actual stage info on our arm paid dividends this year. So hardcore recommend, even if you get Right in the Rain cards, but index cards in your armband, definitely something to easily refer to. So armbands is how we ran dope. And then finishing out our shooting gear is our, what do you call this? Our oh shit package.
Yeah, probably. That's a good description of it. Our oh shit bag.
So when you step off Friday morning, you can't come back for nothing, right? So what do you do when gear goes down, something needs repaired, whatever? So Lindsay's got a very important part there. If you want to pull out your fancy seamstress item, you'll talk about in a second. But I carried our fix-it sticks, and we even went as far as when you talk about cutting weight, there is weight you can cut. So for our fix-it sticks, I would actually take out the torque measure and I would not take it with me.
Mhm.
And then we went through all of our gear and used and put all the heads in here that we needed for our gear and then pulled the other heads out. There's a couple ounces, but unnecessary ounces. But we could work on anything on either one of our guns on the course. Then we
Mhm.
carried a big set of Leatherman, not a little bitty one. I mean, this is a saw, the knife, whatever. And we figured
Yeah.
between the fix-it sticks and the Leatherman, and, I guess maybe I'm too sophisticated of a redneck. I don't love duct tape. I really love electric tape, and I think it's actually more versatile. So we take
I want
electric
to say
tape
I
with
have
us.
electrical tape as well.
Yeah, and you had zip ties, I think.
Yep, I
Um,
had
and
zip ties.
then and then here's another Sean Murphy special. Um, Stuck K says whatever. This Joker I ordered off Amazon. It's called Rapid Rod, collapsible cleaning rod that weighs like a whopping like 2.5 ounces. Highly recommend. We've yet to have to use it, but you get a stuck case on day one of a match, and
Yeah.
you're going to be hosed. So, what is the final item there? I'm going to let it zoom into you, Solinski.
So the one thing that I brought, we actually have not needed to use it between last year and this year, but
Well,
is
you would
a
have if
leather.
we'd have had anything past the final ruck. Remember?
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a leather sewing awl. This thing is clutch. I've used this multiple times on other movements while I was active duty. This is a 100-year-old tool. It comes with a large, all the gauge needle. But this thing by itself with some wax thread can push through about 4 layers of canvas relatively easily. With a little bit of you can probably get 5 to 6 layers of canvas. So essentially, think any strap breaking, kidney pad, shoulder strap, anything like that. I can fix all of them in less than 5 minutes. Which, depending on your ruck speed, I can fix the shoulder strap mid ruck and still finish the ruck in time. That's one of the reasons that we brought this with us, and we brought it last year. We brought it this year. I can fix barricade bags. Right, Jose had an issue last year where his bag of the Velcro had come loose because it's a prototype, and he had lost a bunch of his fill. If that had been stitching instead of the Velcro, I could have fixed this that night, and we would have been running a good bag the rest of the match. And this isn't some hack fix. All right, this is like professional grade stitching. So for some demo of that, I have my ruck here. All right, these pouches, I have run for probably about 500 miles in not easy conditions. These were made with this very sewing all over the last 8 years. I sewed these patches on. I modified some other pouches attached to them, and it's essentially a professional grade stitch that you can do in the field in a couple of minutes. And it's
Yep.
not some crazy new technology. Like it's literally a leather working tool that's been around for 100 years.
Yep. Clutch item.
And it weighs
I've
nothing.
actually used it. Yeah, I've actually started using it to modify some of my shooting gear as well, where, there's a lot of Molly items that still aren't exactly Molly the way you want them. So, Solinski definitely turned me on to that. This is actually a great question, and Solinski is going to cause you to pull your backpack back up. What was
Okay.
the weight of each of you started and ended with? I will tell you, 2 years in a row, we have not weighed our gear at the end
Yeah.
because we get back to the truck, our stuff goes in the truck, beers come out of the truck, and that's all we care about. But
Yeah.
the start of the match, we were not, and when I tell you my weight, this is literally everything. Like this year, we literally pulled out our game scale and weighed them. Um, and that was, what did I step off with? So let's see, I stepped off with
Uh,
shorts and just a t-shirt and a beanie. So like literally even my clothes, like my pants,
I
belt,
think
everything was in the pack, and it was 58. I think I was at 58.
yeah, I think you
And
were exactly 10 pounds lighter than I was.
yeah, and you were 68. And remember,
I
Solinsky
was
is a badass. So
Yeah, I was 69. I think it was 68 point something or 69 point something, like a high 68, low 69. But then I had some last minute items. We put it up on the long range tactics page. There's a post about our gear and what our weights were. But we had some last minute items we threw in there. So I'm going to say
right,
I was safely 70 pounds on my ruck.
yeah. But so your pack's got to be able to take it. Again,
Yeah.
I have no affiliation with Mystery Ranch, but thanks to Justin Heyer shouting him out and as my fellow gear nerd, Mystery Ranch. This dude like Heyer is a pack snob, and he pointed me in the direction of Mystery Ranch, either Beartooth 80 or a Sawtooth 45. I looked at the sizing. This is the Beartooth 80 minus the flap, so there's a like a top pouch that comes with it. And for me, everything would go in here, including tent, sleeping bag, and everything. And I would run rifle down one side, and I would run a tripod down the other. Everything else fit inside it. Oh, that's a lie. My shooting bag would actually no. I'd run my shooting bag in the pocket. So I mean, lots of
Mm-hmm.
space. Basically, what I would do in the lid on the outside would be all my clothes because that way the lightest stuff in my pack would be the farthest away. And then when I open it up, my pistol, anything heavy would be towards the inside. And then you had some, let's call them, hey, look over there. There's my 12 round mag. Uh, all my gear would be in these sorted pockets inside. So, Mystery Ranch Beartooth 80 is how I carried my gear. It's about a 5.5 pound empty pack, and it worked great, super comfortable. Solinski, you can tell them about yours real quick.
Yeah, so I'm running the highest of speed, the lowest of drag, an original standard issue Alice pack from circa 1960s. So essentially, this is a modified Alice pack. So I've got a large Alice pack that I purchased, and then I went through when I was in the sniper platoon, and I went through and I upgraded everything from the metal kind of clips. So I'm not sure if you can pull this forward a little bit so you can see. There we go. So I've still got the metal loops on there. I left them on there just as an emergency backup if my plastic clips break, but I upgraded everything to plastic clips so I didn't have to loop straps through anything. I added a whole bunch of pockets. So I've got pockets on this side. I've got one on top, one on bottom. I made this pocket with that leather awl that I was talking about. This was literally a flat piece of canvas. These are some magazine pouches that I modified. Same on the other side. I've got these two pouches, and then I've got a top pouch that I added to the flap. And so I can fit a ton of gear on this one. The biggest advantage is how many exterior pockets it has. So I can get to probably about 50% of my gear, particularly the small items, without having to unpack my ruck. The biggest disadvantage to this ruck is obviously there's no rifle pouch. So for the longer rucks that I had time to set everything up properly, I would unpack and I put my rifle vertical in that main pouch all the way down. I probably stuck up about a foot, but I was vertical. For the shorter rucks, if I didn't have time to unpack and repack my entire ruck, I T-boned it. There's a whole bunch of people that don't like T-boning. That's because their only match they run is a match with 60 people stepping off on the starting line. Rocket or T-boning rifles is a standard practice for anyone that actually operates with a bolt gun, mainly because it's quick. I would have my full ruck, it would be secured. My rifle goes on top here, and then the flap goes over and secures everything down because it keeps that weight, which most standard issue rifles run that 20-pound weight limit. For those of you that hate weighted bolt guns, a standard issue M40A6 is 20.6 pounds, I believe. The A5 was 19.8 pounds, I think. So these aren't heavier than standard issue, but you don't want that hanging on the outside of your pack furthest away from your center of gravity. Makes you use a lot more energy. A ton of people run those attachments that have like the buttstock pouch on the bottom hanging off all the way on the outside of their pack. Cool, you're running a 13-pound rifle, but it's affecting you like it's a 20-pound rifle because you have it so far away from your pack. So it
Yep.
doesn't actually help you any to have that light rifle, right? If you packed it properly, you could run a heavy gun and it would feel the same and it would take the same amount of energy. But yeah, this is my super high speed, lowest of drag Alice pack. It did fail me this year on the final ruck. My D ring snapped about a mile into a 7.5 mile ruck. So let's see if I can put it close. So right there, you can see where it ripped that D ring out. And I pretty much went the rest of 6.5 miles without the support of a kidney pad. It's just the way it goes. Sucks to suck. I've got about 500 miles on this ruck. None of it light use. 70 pounds is probably close to the lightest that it's been. Uh,
So
Sometimes we would do 50-pound rucks, but typically that ruck weighed more than 100 pounds.
yeah. So I'm gonna nudge us along here for sake of uh, everybody's time.
Time as
But
I talk too much.
Scott Whitehead here has provided great insight. We weigh from naked to fully packed, all clothes, shoes, etc. Joe and I were right around 55 pounds. So Scott has seen about as many mammoths as anyone out there. I think he said this was his fifth year. Joe, I think, was seventh. They've finished quite well a lot of years that they've ran together. I believe they won the regular division 1 year or 2 years. So I'm very experienced. And I think what you'll find, I had a really funny conversation at Coleman Sniper Match with Ben Fleener. And he's like, man, he's like, every year I change my gear. He's like, I'll add this, I'll take away that. And every year when I go to weigh my pack, it's 60 pounds. And that's how I feel, right? Like, I'm a big guy. I'm going to be comfortable. I'm not going to skimp on food. I'm not going to skimp on clothes. And like last year, my setup was kind of different from this year, rifle and all. I was at 60 pounds. Scott and Joe. Scott runs an incredible backpack that I need to look into. I don't even remember what brand it is. He may comment it here in a second, but it's got like a 2 pound pack that saves them 3 pounds right there. But that
Oh God, I
55,
wish mine was 2 pounds.
52 to 60, 65, even you're going to have some guys that are, a lot more fit than Fat Boy here that eats for a living. And they're going to be around, 55 to 65 pounds, I think is a great target for, I'm not overdoing it, but I've got plenty of gear because this is a shooting match, not a rucking match. So
Yeah,
appreciate that insight, Scott. And then we've got Robbie here. Oh, look at that. You already did it, Slinsky.
yeah.
Robbie says,
Waiting
show
on
me
you.
T-boning, please.
All right, so this is T-boning with a folding buttstock, right? People complain about T-boning because without a folding
Unfold
buttstock,
it to show him why.
you stick out. Like, not gonna lie. Now, imagine adding a can to this side. Like, you stick out both sides. There's some huge disadvantages to T-boning, but when it comes to rucking and weight management, T-boning is one of the most effective ways to ruck a 20-pound rifle because it keeps that weight high, centered on your back, close to your back, which is exactly where you want the heaviest item in your ruck. If you run a folding buttstock, even when I T-boned it on the shorter rucks, I was able to fold this in. I don't stick out that far, but I still had to be aware of where my ends were on both sides.
Yep.
Even with people going vertical, you would hear, because you wouldn't see it, but you would hear people who did not pay attention to where their rifle ended. They were hitting signs, they were hitting
Yep.
poles, they were hitting all the stuff with their gun because they didn't understand where their ends were. If you understand where your ends were, T-boning is not a problem. It is not unsafe. I'm so tired of hearing people complain that T-boning is unsafe. T-boning is not unsafe. It's literally what the people that do this for a living do.
Point well made. I'm going to show the other thing because once again, I don't like it for this pack. I like my stuff to be just tied up against me. So I run my rifle basically like that because if you see my buttstock when it fits in the water pocket is right on my weight belt, basically waist belt. And like Solinski said, everything's just about getting the heavy weight up against your body. So like my pistol goes in my camelback pouch to get that 4 pounds right up against my body. And weight management, like how you manage the weight, is as much as what weight you managed. So great points by Solinski there. Oh look, Scott has replied. Sierra Designs Flex Capacitor 40 to 60. Guys, check that out if you are looking for a new pack. I chose mine because of the hunting ability too, the way it's got like a meat rack and everything, and I've used mine for a couple hunts out west. But if you want like more of a hiking, camping, rucking pack, his Joker is 3 pounds, 4 pounds lighter than
He
mine.
said it's two
About
and a half if you go to the next comment
two and a
down.
half, yeah, 2.5 pounds.
I
So,
wish my pack was
um,
2.5 pounds.
so if you're taking notes, make sure you annotate Sierra Designs Flex Capacitor 40 to 60. Appreciate that, Scott. So, all right, let's talk clothes real quick. Zelensky, you don't even got to pull yours out if you want. Maybe you can just make some comments on mine and how you changed up a little bit. But frankly, this year, actually, the last 2 years, we've gotten really lucky. Last year was cold on day one, and then day two and
Yeah,
day three were, frankly, let's call it mild, Zelensky, probably.
yeah. Oh, day
Um,
three was hot. I mean, it was like
oh, yeah,
69
yeah.
degrees on that final run.
Now, this year was just mild to hot the whole time.
That
Like we didn't have any
entire time.
cold at all, didn't have any rain. So like we didn't even take our rain gear. Like we packed, this is probably
The
2.5
Walmart.
pounds worth of rain
Yeah,
gear.
we
And we
brought some
didn't
Walmart
take that.
Poncos just in case.
Yeah, right. But I will talk about the clothing system a little bit. So first of all, underwear is a really weird thing, right? Some people chafe for one reason, some people chafe for another reason, some people don't like Vaseline, some people do. I really like this Mara wool. It's a 50-50 wool spandex blend. I would take 3 pair of these. Some guys are only going to take 1 pair of underwear. I can wear a lot of dirty clothes a long time, but the clothes touching my skin definitely I want clean. So the
Yeah.
wool underwear definitely recommend. Socks, Zelensky, I want you to briefly, because I know you snipers can talk about stocks a long time. What I ran 3 pair of ankle high smart wool PhD socks. They're thin, they're almost like running socks, but for me, because I kind of run a more athletic shoe anyways, for rucking, I felt it was light, it was dry, it was comfortable. But I would also wear 2 pair or bring 2 pair of tall smart wool socks, like more of the hiker, like cold weather, mild
Hmm.
weather-ish socks. One, I would sleep in them. So I would sleep in a clean pair of socks every night, keep my feet warm and comfortable, and then I'd wear them the next day. But I brought 5 pair of socks, didn't think it added that much weight, and definitely in keeping the feet comfortable and warm means a lot. So Solinski, briefly tell us what you think there.
So I brought about five, I think 5 pairs of socks. I brought one set per night, like you said. I didn't do a
Yep.
clean set every night. I just had my sleeping set. So that was a thicker cotton sock. What I rucked in was a wool cotton blend, mainly because I'm just a cheap asshole and I didn't want to go buy new stuff. And I had a bunch of stuff sitting in the sock drawer. So I grabbed some socks that I had that were wool blend, but I did fresh socks every day, and I had an extra pair of socks just in case.
Yep.
Um, like Jose talked about, there was people out there that didn't bring extra clothes, they didn't bring extra underwear, shirts, socks, stuff like that. That is absolutely foolish. If you can't ruck with an extra, call it 2 pounds, to have good socks, you're setting yourself up for failure. There's a lot of people that go through mammoth with blisters and a lot more pain than they need to go through. People that fail out of rucks because of injuries that are caused by blisters and things like that.
Right.
Um, Fresh socks, as much as the joke is in the veteran community about like, oh, you're injured, you just shattered your knee, change your socks and suck it up, right?
Yeah.
Fresh socks are absolutely clutch. I didn't do it during Mammoth, but I have changed my socks mid ruck before. If it's super hot and your feet are sweating, like last year, it was like
Yeah.
69 degrees during the final ruck after it had been 22 degrees in the mornings, right? Uh, it absolutely could have gotten to the point where, depending on your physical ability, how much you sweat, all of that stuff, you might have needed to change your socks mid ruck just to make sure that your feet weren't completely messed up by the end of it.
Right.
Having that extra pair of socks is clutch. I can't stress that enough. No sock weighs so much that you should sacrifice those.
Yeah. So, Justin, who is the one that turned me on to, I've always had Smart Wool, but he turned me on to the PhD line. They're his daily socks. I don't have as much money as Justin. He's going to love that joke. But those PhD socks are nice. And then once again, the veteran Mammoth shooter ex officio underwear will change your life for rucking. So maybe I'll add them, but those Mara Wools I like. But once again, if you're taking notes,
Yeah,
I would definitely at least look into Scott's thoughts because they're worth something. All
I
right,
run
so
Under Armour exclusively.
see, that's the weird thing. So I used to wear compression. You know, I played a lot of sports even through college and whatever, and I would wear compression shorts daily, even as my daily wear. And then about 3 years ago,
That's
I
what
don't
I
know
do.
if it's because I got super fat or what, but like now compression shorts make me chafe. Can't tell you why. Once again, this is why if you as the viewer figure out what you like and don't like change your gear because some idiot on the internet told you to, figure out what you like. And if you like it, it probably works. You're not out here fighting a war.
Yep.
You're camping for 3 days and shooting some guns. All right. So use what works for you. So, all right, now layering. All right, so I did take only 1 pair of pants, my XKGs from Kings. These have become my daily kick around. They're light, they're tough, they're stretchy. I like them. Now, for my shirt, I had a weird shirt situation going on. I can't ruck in, like, I can't even sweat in, like, lots of clothes. I'd rather run at freezing temperature in my underwear than sweat in a bunch of clothes. So every day
Yeah.
when I would ruck, I was basically in shorts and a literal t shirt. But I also like to be dry. I'm a diva and I'm not scared to carry the weight. So I would take 2 shirts. So I had a wool shirt for one in the mornings when I was cold or sleeping. But then when we were being a little bit more athletic, if I needed to, I would take my t-shirt off and go to this sun shirt. So, you know, it's pretty popular, these athletic-y hoodies that guys are wearing now. I love them. I only have about 12 of them. And that's what I would wear most of the day. Kept your skin protected. It was breathable. It was wicking. So I was usually shooting in either the wool shirt or the sun shirt. But like I said, once again, pay attention. Apparently, 3 years ago, it was so cold at night that guys were quitting in the middle of the night, not even during the rucks. That has not been mine and Solinski's experience the last 2 years, and we were aware of that and just planned accordingly. We figured out we could shave weight here or there, whatever. Now these are what I love. As you notice, I wear thin pants or at least uninsulated pants. These are full length zip off merino underwear. They literally zip all the way to the hip where you can take them off without taking your shoes off. from QU. Obviously, other brands make them. I've worn the absolute crap out of these over the last 5 years, hunting or rucking, etc. So between the pants, these, and then what I am leaving out because I didn't have space was I took a pair of puffies. Once again, pulling from Sean Murphy's playbook. He was like, pick the one or two comfort items that are going to keep your attitude great. Even if they weigh a little bit. Frankly, these don't weigh that much. I use these for glassing. These are I forget what they're called. They're basically the puffy pants and matching jacket from King's Camo. They don't weigh that much. They look like they take a lot of space. They don't because they zip into their own pockets, so they're super compression. And Solinski will tell you the moment that the sun went down, I'd put them on and they'd stay on except for when I was sleeping. And in the morning while we're breaking down camp, I'd throw them on. I'd be super warm. Time to step off. They'd come off, and in 10 seconds, they're literally stuffed in my bag, and we're moving on. So these kept me so warm without carrying 7 shirts. I had 2 shirts, and these I was either warm or I didn't need them. Right. So uh, I like those. Zelensky, any last comments on the clothes? Oh,
No, I
and
pretty much have the
gloves
same
and a
principles. I
beanie
had a
because that's standard. So
Yeah, yeah, gloves and a beanie or clutch. Pretty much have the same principles. I had a pair of long underwear, which I didn't end up needing this year at all. Used them a ton last year. Had a pair of puffy pants because they made being at camp comfortable. It was
so
fantastic.
great for sitting
You
around
finished with
camp.
the day and
Yep.
put your puffy pants on and just looked
Yes.
ridiculous and felt fantastic. Gloves, beanie, awesome. I'm not going to take up too much time because we are pushing the episode as is. So let's go ahead and move
Yeah,
on.
yeah, we're good. Oh, last step, Zelensky, if you want to show your shoes, you'll see a lot of guys
Yep.
wear like military boots. You'll see guys wearing the crispy boots and the Salomon boots or whatever. Are they called crispies? Maybe that's some fashioning. Whatever. The really stiff-soled like hiking boot. Son, I wear Merrell Moab Edge 2s. Everybody's different. I have both my ankles are super messed up. I still don't worry about like a ton of ankle support. I want to be able to move. You got to move fast during the matches. These are comfortable. These aren't so stiff they wear blisters. It's just what you're used to, but these are what I'm used to. And Solinsky, I think you run something similar. You don't wear super high
So
tops.
I run Merrell's.
Yeah.
I'm actually not sure on the model. These are my daily wear boots, just for work and life. Um, yeah, my last set of boots was the same thing. The soles were pretty much flat when I ran Mammoth last year. The soles were coming off at the toes. I think I used shoe goo the night before Mammoth to put them back together. Um, the big thing with boots for Mammoth, and most people don't even understand this, even just for running, or I shouldn't say understand this, but are educated about it, insoles. Please, for the love of God, do not use the insoles that come in the boots.
It's true. Yes, I do have
Literally,
aftermarket insoles. I'm with you.
yeah. If you go to, don't go to Ross, right? Go to a legitimate running store that all they sell is high end shoes, and they will tell you the layer that comes at the bottom of a set of shoes is a sock protector. It is not an insole. All right. You need insoles for your feet. I run aftermarket insoles in all my boots. It makes a difference,
Yep.
particularly when you're roughing 30 miles in 3 days with an 80 or a 70-pound pack. You
Yep.
have to have stuff that protects your feet if you
Best
have
thing
bad
I
arches.
Yep. Best
Yep.
thing I ever did was went to Fleet Feet and got scanned.
Yep.
They let me try on like 3 different insoles in those shoes. I bought some there, went and bought some other ones cheaper offline that were exactly the same, but they helped me out. So I
Yep.
bought it from them. But it's totally worth it to tell you exactly what you need. So definitely 100% write that down. Great job,
Yeah.
Slinsky.
And
Let's see,
Sleep Feet's
moving.
awesome. That's where I started. They put you on a treadmill with a high speed camera, and they tell you if you pronate or what's the other one, and your feet are
All
in.
right. I bet
Anyway,
Justin's going to
they
tell us
tell
some
you how
stuff in the
your feet
comments.
angle, what insoles will help correct it. It's awesome. Go do it.
Yeah.
It's worth the money for a good pair of shoes and insoles. 100%.
Um, yeah. Okay. Sorry. One quick question. Where y'all from? I'm from South Central Alabama is probably the best way to describe it. There you go. Justin said supinate is the other word.
There we go.
Told you. So,
Yeah,
and
definitely
then
remember that.
Zelensky's from up there in the land of the liberals. No, just kidding. I'm
Yes,
just
I mean
kidding.
you're not wrong. I currently live in Northern Virginia. Originally from Tucson, Arizona. I've spent some time in Hawaii. I was stationed out there for a while before I went to Virginia. Yeah, currently live in Northern Virginia.
Yep. All right. So moving on to camping gear. So you'll see a variety of different things. You're going to see guys that carry an 8-pound tent. You're going to see guys that carry each a 5 pound tent. Doesn't make any sense to me. This was one area of improvement this year. Solinski and I did. Last year we ran this, and it wasn't terrible. If you're wanting to do things on a budget, definitely a great budget item. It is the Mountain Smith Mountain Shelter LT. So it's about 80 inches wide, about 130 inches long, but it's not tall. Like me and Solinski had plenty of room to lay in there beside each other.
Mm-hmm.
Frankly, we shared it. It was only about 2.2 pounds, and it uses two trekking poles, or if you want to cut some sticks, to hold it up. It was light. It was good enough. It kind of just sucked getting out of,
Mm-hmm.
basically. But we upgraded this year to the, cannot recommend enough, Argali Absaroka 4P tent. So basically, it's
It was like
supposedly a
the Taj
four-person tent.
Mahal.
It's a two-person tent with room for a stove and gear. Actually, we used two of these this year out in Colorado. Me, my dad, a buddy, and or two buddies, and we used two of them, and we had jacks and everything. But this Joker was only with the stakes is only 2 pounds, and it's about 70 inches tall, and it's a 130-inch diameter teepee with a door on each end. So basically, Solinski and I
Yeah.
had our own door. We used the tripod we told you about for the center column and all of our gear. Because last year we basically had to put a bunch of our gear outside and just cover it with the rain covers.
Mm-hmm.
This year, all of our gear was in there. We had plenty of room. We'd get in there and eat and hang out and not hate being inside of it.
Yeah.
Plenty of room for our gear. And
Didn't have to
then
crawl over each other to get out.
yeah, it was quite nice. And then I've got the Sidewinder SL from, I think it's Big Agnes, maybe. Look up Sidewinder SL 20 degree sleeping bag with, once again, thanks to Justin, great suggestion, the Climate Insulated V Ultralight sleeping pad with one of their ultralight pillows. So this is a blow up. As you can see, it goes down super small. I don't have to put it under my pack like Solinski did, but Solinski would also tell you I hated life. Every night I had to blow it up, and then every morning I had to fold it up. So you kind of pick your poison. I told you we went down two different roads. It worked for both of us. We still did well, but I actually really enjoyed this. High R value, very comfortable, very spacious. And then last tip from me, once again, a Sean Murphy special, a little bitty microfiber towel. One, I've used it to dry off every year when I've gotten really sweaty. You can also use it for gun cleaning, whatever. A towel can come in handy. So just something to consider. I'm not saying write it down. I'm just saying consider it. So Solinski, what do you have for your sleeping gear?
So my method behind sleeping gear is completely opposite to Jose's because I can't hide money. I went with the $7 Walmart special pad, IR value, whatever it is that Walmart tells you it is. It's an eggshell or egg carton, whatever you call it, foam pad. It was next to nothing. I think I bought it at Mammoth last year, like the night before we stepped off, because I had a crappy blow up one that just took up too much room in my ruck. This I was able to strap to the outside. I unfolded it so it's a little bit thinner and strapped it on that outside strap. And then my sleeping pad was the totally not standard issue, totally not acquired Coyote sleeping bag that some of you may have seen before because it cost me an unspecified amount of money.
I like it. Hey, you do what you got to do. So, Justin says you need an inflatable pad. Um, well, his claim for comfort, mine is comfortable. Is it more comfortable? I don't know. So, oh, here we go. REI Magma 15 is an amazing bag, under 2 pounds. Oh yeah, my bag was about 2.2 pounds, and then the pad adds another 14 ounces or something like that. But you must have a good pad. Whitehead speaks truth. Higher speaks truth. Justin is definitely one that turned me on to like that high R value being worth it. Last year, the first night where it was cold, I can't imagine not having a high. The R value is just the rating of insulation for whatever the layer is that you're using, and so that's where you hear us talk about high R value. Definitely a good warm pad, as both of them say. And okay, so moving on to food and management in general. So obviously we don't have all of our food with us because all of our food got ate. We do things a little bit different. I think one lesson Solinski and I learned was we love the peak meals, and I think everyone would tell you the peak meals are awesome. Sweet pork and rice is a little bit spicy for breakfast if you don't want to have a upset stomach. Fair warning. But it's freaking good at dinner. Chicken teriyaki rice, whatever. But these peak meals are great. High. A lot of them have really high caloric value. They're actually some of the best texture on the market as far as freeze dried meals go. But what we did last year that we didn't do this year is last year we tried to do 3 square meals a day with the peak
Mm-hmm.
meals. And what we found, and I
I
think
still did.
what you didn't do
I'm
it
a
every day,
fatty.
did you? No, 2 of the
Mm-hmm.
days you did just bars during the day, didn't you? Either way, whatever. I did not enjoy the stress. What you'll find is you're kind of sitting around talking to buddies, and you don't want to just be like mentally into it 24/7 while you're at the match. And you'll find that you're having a conversation, telling some stupid story about days gone by, and then they're like, "Oh, you're on deck now." Tack onto that you had to get ready for the stage, you had to cook your food, whatever. This
Mm-hmm.
year, I went the route of during the day, I would not cook any meals. I would literally just snack, 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 couple of protein bars, but peak meals for morning and night, absolutely great. And then I feel like it wasn't even a Sean Murphy article, but one article I read was like, when it comes to food, not only do you bring enough calories, but bring treats. Like literally, you can figure out
Yeah.
something that doesn't weigh that much. That's like dessert that picks you up, that boosts your mood, that gets you quick sugar. And so I definitely, it's easy for a fat boy to take that to heart. So I brought a crap ton of honey stinger waffles every day. I literally weighed these against a protein bar. They're 150 calories. I think this protein bar is 150 calories, but the carbs and everything in it, they're actually pretty freaking packed for everything except protein, and they still have a decent amount of protein maybe. But honey stingers, they're light and they're energy packed for during the day. The other thing is protein bars suck. These built puffs, call me a puff, call yourself a puff. I don't care. Make a joke about how pansy these are. These jokers blow anything out there out of the water. It's literally like eating a flavored marshmallow. These are churro flavored, and they're also packed with calories and carbs. And then my other childish thing, Welch's fruit snacks. I used a crap ton of them. And then Solinski had some really good treats like chocolate wrapped
Mm-hmm.
things and
Yeah, so I went
um,
the kind of great value route. I had some great value protein bars. I had some great value almonds. I had these great value, it was like granola chocolate cranberry things.
they
They
were
were
great.
freaking fantastic. Literally would finish a ruck, and I was just like throwing some at Jose because I wanted to get rid of the weight. And then I would eat some myself because I may or may not have overpacked my snacks because I got to feed this beast, right? So I did pack 3 meals, or not quite 3 meals per day, but I packed a meal per meal time. There was one day I didn't end up eating the lunch just because we got distracted with other things, as Jose said. But that ended up giving it up to another competitor who had not packed enough food, and like end of day two was like, all I've got left is a handful of granola,
Yeah.
and so he got one of my meals because I felt bad. But yeah, snacks are clutch. Uh, Comfort snacks. One of the things I used to do when we did stop lanes in sniper school was I had Sour Patch Kids because they were fantastic when you've been sweating and working your ass off for 2 hours. Right? Throw something sweet in there. Don't just think of purely nutrition and calories. Find something you enjoy eating.
Yep. Also, this is going to bring up a point about what Selinsky brought and also make me laugh. After Selinsky had one of my Leathermans for a year long, I've got your coffee cup, you jerk. So
Oh, screw you!
I
I
just
paid
realized that.
$40 for that.
All right, sorry. For how we warmed up, everybody there takes something. You got guys with fancy jet foils and the like. This MSR, is it Pocket Rocket Mini? If you look up MSR Rocket, you'll see what it is. But this Joker's like 2.5 ounces, come with its own case. It will boil water in like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So we would take this titanium cup that holds a lot of ounces, 18, 20 ounces. And basically every peak meal either is 6, 8, or 10.5 ounces. We'd warm up our water. We would not take this big Joker. This is the bigger version than what we carried, but I'm just showing you what it is. I don't even see what's in it, but we literally carry like the 100 gram pocket fuel, and it would last all weekend for us between the two of us because we weren't just making coffee and stuff. But Zelensky did make coffee this year and last year. I just didn't, and so we never ran out of fuel, and we were using the smaller one than this. It doesn't take a lot of fuel if
Yeah.
you know what you're doing at Mammoth. And then literally, we went really fancy. What do we do? Buy these at Academy the night before, the plastic forks and
Yeah,
stuff.
I think so. And then I forgot
So
mine, so I borrowed yours.
yeah, really like you don't got to go crazy there. Now there is one. You shut your mouth, Tyler. I am not the coffee cup thief.
I
All
mean,
right,
it's
so
okay.
there
I
is
stole his
one.
MBX mag, so it's a fair trade.
Yeah, $130 mag versus a $14 coffee cup. Anyways, Scott brings up a great point here that I want to highlight. Like you said, lots of your favorite treats. Skip the fancy Cliff bars and breed candy bars you love to eat. Your tendency will be to undereat. Even I did that. Like by the end of day two, I was like, "Holy crap,
Yeah.
I'm not eating enough." And then I ate two full
Yeah.
meals that night. Your body runs on glucose. That's the most important thing. That's where the honey stingers. If you're a health freak and whatever, and you're like, "Oh, I can't eat that garbage," well, fat boys can. But either way, you're burning through so much stuff. You want that quick access
Yeah.
energy instead of the stores, and the honey stingers and everything is great. Um, uh, Yep. Just once again, the
Yeah.
point of snacking and keeping your energy up.
Yeah.
Uh,
There's an expression in the military that chow is continuous. That is for a reason. You want that constant energy level versus three meals
yep.
a day where you get peak energy and then just decline until the next peak energy, right? You're constantly snacking.
So the last couple of points to make here. Now I'm missing some stuff. All right, guys, I did a bad job organizing. I'll admit it. Oh well.
So
Here we
while
go.
he's finding that, just one point to Scott, who was saying he would eat two cold packs every day and then a cold granola every morning. That works if you're not a morning person. I know Jose didn't like eating big breakfast. I'm a fatty when it comes to the breakfast. Like I literally get up like a half hour
I would
earlier
eat
than
a
I
full
usually every
breakfast. What are
morning
you
for
talking
work.
about?
So I had to cook a full breakfast. Like I love breakfast. I could not
Yeah.
eat cold granola. I would hate myself. I would need all the breakfast. It's
Okay.
fantastic.
So I am definitely missing something here, but just a couple of points about gear organization. So just some of the extra stuff, other stuff we brought that we haven't covered yet. Battery pack. So we did bring electronics. If you're cutting ounces and you're just not a millennial, then so be it. But those long rucks, like especially for me, like rucking with music is about a cadence for me more than about forgetting where I'm at. It's like literally, it's like what keeps me moving. So I literally
Mm-hmm.
brought my Beats, my little headphones that I've got plugged in. I think Solinsky had Bluetooth hearing protection,
Yep.
and then even my hearing
These headphones
protection.
are here, and then the
Yep.
Bluetooth hearing protection as well.
Yeah. And so mine that I don't know where the heck they went were also cabled. So we had cabled hearing protection. Now listen, if you run suppressors, cool. If you don't run suppressors, obviously you're going to want hearing protection, but sometimes they'll put you 50 yards apart. We had a stage where literally we had shooters shooting between us, like me and Solinsky were on opposite sides of a road with
Mm-hmm.
another whole team in between us shooting their stage. Communication is a must. And so
Yeah.
electric hearing protection of some kind is to me essential. Like call it what
Yeah.
you will, some guys are running foamies, but for us, communication is essential. So we ran electrics, then we would run our phones and whatever, play on our phones at night. So for 8 ounces, one battery pack more than lasted the weekend. Not a big deal. Other than that, another the flashlight. So once again, you got to pack up in the dark every morning. Sometimes you're walking back in the dark at night. Sometimes you're rucking in the dark down the side of the road.
Yeah.
A great lightweight quality. So something like a Petzl headlamp, or this is a Black Diamond Cosmo. Great. This is only like 25 bucks. I've used it for hunts. I've used it for mammoth, whatever. It's been great. I did bring a couple of cloths, so just cleansing cloths. Uh, Shoot, one's Gunworks, one's Burris, just stuff to clean your guns, clean your lenses, whatever. But for gear organization, I got these Mystery Ranch Zoid bags. So one thing we didn't talk about on food, one way to manage your food is to make a daily bag. So we had three Ziplocs
Mm-hmm.
each. We had a day one bag, day two bag, day three bag. Make sure calories are balanced out. Make sure you didn't overeat, but also make sure you didn't undereat. If you've underate during the day, we'd be like, dude, you got to finish your bag tonight. Including we do like what 2 or 3 liquid IVs a day. So
Yep.
Ziploc bags are a great organizer, but these Zoid bags, I had everything in one of these. Just like this one held my cables, my battery pack, any medicine, my moleskin, whatever. Super light, super rugged. And then this bigger one held my ammo. And it's really easy. Like Solinsky said, you don't have time to pack and unpack everything between each stage. If you know which bags you're wearing, you can reach in, like pull out your ammo, reach in, pull out your pistol, and not have to like unorganize everything every time. It helps a lot. So,
And like I went the cheapo route. I used Crown Royal bags for rifle
hey,
ammo,
it works.
pistol ammo. It's
Yeah.
dummy proof. They're different colors. It's fantastic. They're light as shit.
Hey, it works. All right, so I think that about wraps it up for all of our gear. I don't see a lot of other questions. For anyone that's good point. Justin has Crown Royal bags aren't cheap. I call it a sunk cost. That's what you call a Crown Royal bag. It's there anyways.
Yep.
Anyways, what changes we make for next year? We're actually going to run some different rifles. Hopefully, we can't quite
Hmm.
talk about it yet, but there's going to be a lightening up of rifles. We're going to run weapon mounted rangefinders. We're going to see if we can use some advice from a very trusted shooting colleague to improve on the effectiveness of the radiuses.
Hmm.
We're probably going to go suppress next year if I can
Yep.
convince Solinski. But other than that, man, our gear, I think this year we were pretty comfortable with what we did. I'll actually probably bring a
Yep.
little bit more food next year, and then obviously we'll bring a little bit more clothes if we think it's going to be colder. The rest of our setup, I think we're pretty happy with.
Yep.
And
I think
then,
we're going to switch positions next year. I'm going to be running primary.
yep,
Jose might be running secondary since I've run secondary for the last 2 years. So we might swap that up
yep.
just to see how it goes.
Ooh, here's a great question that we're going to get to after this. So, in case you're wondering how the match went, we do think, like we said, we changed some stuff up this year. We changed our style a little bit this year, and we upgraded. Last year, we stepped off, and it was 74 teams, 76 teams, and we finished
Mhm.
17th. This year, we finished 15th out of 90 teams, 92 teams that stepped off. And frankly, I think the top you know, the teams that would have been 15th last year could have easily been 30th this year. There was one,
Mhm.
10 through 30 were pretty evenly parred, and then there was a big gap to ninth, and there was some
We also
freaking
had
stellar
AMU
shooters
showed
this
up
year.
with 6 teams this year
Five
instead of
teams,
two.
five teams, five
Five
teams.
teams. Excuse me, five
But
teams.
yeah, and only four of those were top 12. No big deal. So only a third of them. It was a great group to shoot with though this year. Great
Hmm.
guys. We had a great time, man. So we're gonna give her one more run and see what goes. So great question to finish up with. What kind of training? Oh wait, sorry, that was the wrong question. I didn't mean to do that. So Robbie first asked, "Do y'all train together?" And then, what kind of training have you done to prepare between rucking and shooting? Um, so Robbie Solinski and I live several states away from each
Hmm.
other. When we agreed to shoot this together, we had never met, and we a month later
Never met in person.
met each other.
Couple
Yeah.
podcasts and
Yeah. So a month later, we shot a 22 match together, which is a whole other story on itself that we're not going to get into because Slinsky will talk for an hour. But basically,
I rolled my car.
our training together before the first Mammoth was we got together for 2 days. We went ahead and took the time to the vacation time. We committed and took 2 days to go train, and we trained with 22s. That was the best we could get. We had a field where we could put out targets at 300 yards. We set up a crap ton of targets, and for 2 days we literally just talked through scenarios and made sure we understood each other's styles and brainstormed on what if this happens, what if that happened. We're
Hmm.
both very experienced shooters. We just weren't experienced together, and so we really use that time to like, hey, what do you like? What do I like? What's the what's best practices, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, that's going to be good. And
Yeah.
then we literally went and shot Mammoth. Now, since then, we've shot Mammoth, we shot Vortex Team Sniper Challenge,
Mhm.
and then we didn't see each other again. Like we did that January last year,
In
February
March.
last year, and we
Yeah.
was it March? Yeah, either
I
way.
think it
And
was
then we
March.
didn't see each other
January.
again until
Till
January
Mammoth.
this year, where we showed up at the range, about an hour north of Fort Gordon, and shot for a couple hours together. But we do a lot of talking. We know, I guess, how to ask the shooting nerd questions with each other to kind of
Hmm.
try to establish a style. I think it'd be better, right? I mean, to give you an example, if I don't think they'd mind us sharing, but the top team at Mammoth this year, they've been shooting for 3 years together. They live like 20 minutes down the road from each other, and they shoot multiple times a week together. And so it showed this year they fricking
Yeah.
clicked.
Yeah.
And so, you can do everything in between, right? I mean, some guys, this is their one match a year. I don't understand that. But you can be semi successful. You can sort of make your way
Hmm.
towards the top, I'll say, like we did. By just getting out and shooting a lot, right? I shoot team matches. I shoot team matches with my wife. I shoot team matches with some other buddies. It's just
Hmm.
our geographical circles don't cross paths that much. But we both get out and shoot a lot. We talk a
Hmm.
lot. We learn a lot. And then other training, man, just I get out and shoot, man. I don't like I'm like Allen Iverson, like I'm like practice. We talking about practice? Like my practice is shooting. Like I really get bored
Yeah.
practicing, and I shoot a lot of matches. I should practice. I am not diminishing practicing. I'm answering your question, and my training is I go play the game a lot.
Yeah.
Now, could you dry fire and be better than me? 100% you could. I'm not that good. But that's just what I do. I'm just answering your questions. Hope that helps. Feel free to reach out to us on the pages or whatever. Last question we'll address since Corey's late to the game. Do pistol points matter? The only thing worse than carrying a lightweight pistol and sucking at pistol is carrying a heavyweight pistol and sucking at pistol. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that's what Corey did. No, Corey did quite well. I just had to have that. He also has a really awesome pistol.
Yeah.
That said, appreciate y'all's time. Hope this helped. If you're watching this in the future, feel free to comment below. Anyways, we keep a pretty good eye on the videos. Reach out to Solinski, reach out to me. If you like this, if this is the first time you found us through the Mammoth Sniper Challenge page or whatever. Go join Long Range Tactics official groups, what it's called. Go subscribe to Long Range Tactics podcast. Follow us on the YouTube channel here. We hoped it helped. Reach out to us with any video ideas. We may do more breakdowns. We may do an after action, whatever help we can help you with. Oh Lord, I like this idea. We're going to leave it with this. I'm going to start a Tinder for shooting partners. Thanks, guys. I like that idea. I want to be your third investor, not your first. With that, thank y'all. Have a good night. Solinski, what you got?
I mean, that's pretty much it. Like you said, we could talk for another hour if we deep dived into everything. But if you guys have questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We love helping new shooters. We love brainstorming with experienced shooters. We are definitely not some of those people that, hey, it's our way or the highway. Come to us with questions. Come to us with ideas, and we'll
Yep.
absolutely get back to you and brainstorm.
See y'all.